This video is brought to you by Bats Driven.
Teaching you how to send a cash offer, cell phone or from a computer in literally under 3 minutes. Now, this video may be 10 or 15 minutes because I'm going to be explaining, what I'm actually doing here, right? But once you learn how to use this product, you can actually be out in the field with your cell phone, okay? You can be in front of a seller, or you can literally be driving down the road, and you can generate a cash offer to send to a motivated seller. So my partner Mike and I, we've done about 600 deals, and we've literally used this contract and this tool that I'm about to share with you guys for probably 400 of them, right? Again, this is a tool that is going to be able to teach you how to send a cash offer to a motivated seller in under 3 minutes. All right, let's jump on in. So I want you to go pull up a web browser, or again, you can do this from your phone. And I want you to type in cashoffercontract.com. And once you type that in, it is going to load what we like to call our cash offer generator. And this is actually going to forward to my website, discountpropertyinvestor.com/contract/generator. That URL is kind of hard to remember. So we bought cash offer contract, and it just forwards. So don't worry about trying to remember this other URL. Just remember cashoffercontract.com, guys. It is literally that simple. Cashoffercontract.com. This is a tool that's going to teach you how to send a cash offer in under 3 minutes. And again, I have used this personally to flip over 400 properties. All right. So now that you have cash offer contract pulled up, it's going to show you just a little web form here, right? And, there's probably about 12 or 15 different fields in here. But again, this is something that you are going to be able to do, from your phone in less than 3 minutes. So let's go ahead and fill this out. So we're going to click here, and we're going to click today's date. And I believe today's January 4th. Yeah, it's at the little blue thing there. So you just can populate that, right? Next, I'm going to go ahead and I want to put in my name. So you're going to put in your name, all right? Next would be your phone number. So we're just going to put in 314-555-55555. And this is really important because this is actually going to be in the signature. So one of the things that I think I maybe neglected to mention is not only does this generate an actual cash offer, it creates it into a PDF, and then it actually emails this offer to your seller. Coolest thing about it is it's going to email it from your email, not from my email, not from a system standard email, your email, guys, okay? So it's very important that you fill out this information just the way that it asks. So today's date, you want to put in your name, your phone number, and then you want to put in your email. So I'm going to do david@householdeasy.com. Okay. Next, you want to put in your company name. Well, my company is called Household Easy LLC. Okay. Now, if you have a company, put your company right there. If you don't have a company, then you can just put your name in that field. All right. Next, you want to put in your mailing address. So my office mailing address is 1750 South Brentwood Boulevard, Suite 600, St. Louis, Mo 63144. Again, this is going to be your mailing address, guys. So this top part is really just some information about you. The date, your name, your phone number, your email address, your company name, and your mailing address. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to fill in some information about the seller. All right. It's very important that you fill out every one of these fields. Every one of these fields is mandatory. And if you miss one of them, this will not work and it'll air out and you're going to have to start all over. So just make sure that every field has something in it. And again, once you do this a couple times, this should take you less than 3 minutes. My partner Mike and I literally use our cell phone to do this, guys. And it's the most amazing tool ever, okay? So jumping back in, seller's name. I'm gonna use Mike Slane as my seller because he's my partner. And again, this is an example, all right? Seller's email is gonna be mike@housesoldeasy.com. So, put in the seller's information. Now, it says who owns the property. Is it owned by an LLC? Is it, named, what's the name on the deed or the title? So you may have to look this up if the seller doesn't even know, or maybe you don't even know, right? You can always go and you can look this up and see who's on the tax records. You're always gonna have the owner's name or entity on the tax record. So for purposes of this video, we're gonna use Mike Slane. Mike's email is mike@housesoldeasy.com. Notice here it says, use your own email if the seller's email is unknown currently. The reason that you would want to use your own email is because this is going to generate a contract and it's going to send it to the seller from you and it's going to CC you. So if you don't have their email, use it to send this offer to yourself so you actually have it. Now you can print it out, you can mail it to them, you can fax it to them, you can drop it into an e-sign platform or whatever you want to do, right? Sometimes we have students who will send it to themselves and they'll just print it out and just have it with them in the car when they go on an appointment. There's no right or wrong answer there. But if you have their email, your best bet is to put their email in there, okay? Next is going to be the seller's property address. Guys, this is the property that you are trying to buy. So we're going to just say 12345 Main Street property address, right? That's not a real address. But again, we want to really highlight that that's the property address. All right. The next thing here will be the seller's mailing address. And if you have the seller's mailing address, put it in there. If you don't, then just copy and paste the property address. Or another thing you can do is you can literally just create a big line like this, and you can fill that information in later. All right. Either one of these works just fine. That's what you want to do. All right, guys, we are literally almost over halfway through this, right? This is simple, so simple, and you can do this from your cell phone, cashoffercontract.com. Next, what I want you to do is I want you to fill in your cash offer, all right? This is, if you have a manual cash offer, enter it here. Otherwise, copy and paste it, from your MAO, right? This is something that you're gonna wanna figure out on your own. So in this scenario, I'm just gonna use $125,000. Now, do not use any periods or commas. It is not required. And it's gonna mess this up. It's gonna air it out. So just keep it simple, round numbers, no periods, no commas. So we're gonna be making an offer to Mike for 12345 Main Street, property address. Our cash offer is gonna be $125,000, and we're gonna use $100 for our earnest money. Again, no periods, no commas in these two, right? Keep it simple. So that's what our offer is going to consist of. Next, we're going to fill in our inspection period days. All right, the inspection period days. I typically have a standard in my company of 15 business. Do not type days. It's already in the template. If you type it in, that's fine. It's just going to have days. It's just going to have 2 days repeated, right? Now, here is a pro tip, guys. Always add the word business to your inspection periods. That one word is going to give you literally 40% more time. And let me explain, all right? 10 days, right? Just 10 regular days. That's 10 days. 10 is 10. Simple enough. But 10 business days is 14 days. The difference between 10 and 14 is 40%. 20 days is 20 days. 20 business days is 28 days. That is almost a month. All right. So always add the word business into your inspection periods, and it's literally going to buy you 40% more time I love this tip, guys. I love it. Do not forget to add the word business into your inspection period. So again, our standard is 15. You are obviously welcome to change that and put in whatever you want, but please add in the word business for your own sake. It's gonna buy you guys 40% more time. Next is gonna be your acceptance deadline date. How long is this offer valid for? Is it going to be valid until the end of the week? Is it going to be valid till the end of the month? I typically like to give the seller, 3 or 4 days. So we're just going to put 1/8/21 on this particular video because today's date's January 4th. So you want to definitely have an acceptance deadline in here. Again, all of these fields are mandatory. Do not forget to put something in here. Excluding items, guys. If anything excluded from this offer, right? So what would be a good example? Maybe a washer and dryer, maybe appliances, a swing set. I've been to properties where they want to literally take a chandelier with them, or maybe there's a range or a refrigerator that they want to take, and that's totally fine. No big deal. Just make sure that you put that information into the excluded items area. Now notice that if there is nothing that you want to exclude, something needs to be in this field. So you can either put an NA like that, or you can literally just put in a period. I think I might have done too. You can just put in a little period right there, right? Just as long as something is in that field. Now, we literally have 3 fields to go, guys. That is how simple this tool is. You can use your cell phone and you can do this whenever you are out in the field or on the phone with the seller, as well as from your computer. CashOfferContract.com. All right. Closing costs. Actually, I skipped one. Closing date. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to basically click the box and we're just going to determine what closing date. So if we're doing 15 business days, that's about 14 days. So I'm going to just go ahead for simplicity is just put my closing as at the end of this month, 1/31/2021. Now notice that it says on or before. And the reason we do that is because I don't want to have to go back and amend my contracts in the event that I need more time. So actually in this scenario, I'm actually going to push that out until 2/5. This right here is very important, right? Because I don't want to have to amend it, right? I would rather close earlier, right, and be the good guy that comes in with the good news than have to come in and say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, I need more time. So the cool thing about this particular part of this is it says on or before. So if you are able to close before your estimated closing date or the date that you put here, that's great. So, maybe buy yourself a little bit more time by just putting that date out a little bit. And if you find that cash buyer, if you're wholesaling or maybe you're buying to fix and flip or add to your portfolio, again, you can always close a little earlier if you want. All right. So literally we are down to 2 more fields, guys. Simple, simple, simple. Next one is going to be the closing costs. So the closing costs shall be paid blank. You can see here, I already have a couple presets just from me using this over and over again. So you could put by the buyer, you could put by the buyer / by each party. You could put by each party, buyer to pay buyer's closing costs, seller to pay seller's closing costs, or you could literally just put, each paid by each party respectively. I don't know how to spell, right? Something like that. Let's see if this helps me. Oh, it does. All right. By each party respectively, or you could just put by the buyer. All right. Typically, I like to pay the closing costs for the seller because it makes my offer look a little stronger, right? Let's say that, maybe we're not agreeing on price and there's a couple $1,000 spread. Well, I can come in, and part of my negotiations, and I can say, well, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, don't forget, I am going to be paying your closing costs. And that could be several hundred to several $1,000s. It really just depends on the deal. And that's really just a bargaining chip, right? It's a good tool to help you win your offers. All right. So in this scenario here, I'm just going to put by the buyer. And last but not least, guys, is the additional terms and conditions. So this is basically the opposite of excluding items. Up here, we're going to put anything that we may exclude. Right here, we're going to put anything that we basically want to add, right? Anything that we want to, any terms or conditions that are additional to this contract. If you don't have any, again, put a period there, put an in or an in and an A right there, whatever you want. I usually say subject to sewer inspection and final walkthrough. Maybe you can even put in partner's approval. These are really just CYA clauses, right? These are just ways for me to have an out. So don't overthink this. I mean, you could literally just say subject to partner's approval, guys. That is 4 words. 4 words that allows you to get out of any contract at any time is subject to partner's approval. So if you don't know what to put there, that's what I would do. Keep it simple, all right? And once you get this form all the way filled out, I would highly recommend you scroll up and just double check that there's something in every field. Again, all of these fields are mandatory, and if you don't have something in every field, it's not going to work. So at a minimum, just put a period there. One last thing I definitely want to highlight here is don't put any periods or commas or anything in these 2 fields. It's just a numbers area. Keep it simple, guys. Now, once you have this filled out, all right, once this is all done, you're going to click I am not a robot. And depending on, what websites you've been on recently or whatnot, it may ask you to, select a couple photos or something along those lines. But in this case, it didn't even ask for that. All right. So now that all of these fields are filled out and there's something in every field and I've selected that I am not a robot, I am literally going to select submit. Now notice this. It says your offer has been sent. It was sent to the seller from your email address, and you have been CC'd on that email as well. Why does this matter? Why would we do that this way? Well, there's a very specific reason, guys. We want this offer to come from your email address. When I send it, it's coming from my email address. When Mike sends it, it's coming from Mike's email address. When you send it, it's coming from your email address. So what this is actually going to do in the background here, it takes about 60 to 90 seconds. So I can fill that time here real quick and then we'll jump into the email. But it's actually going to generate a PDF. And this is a 2-page contract. I think it might even be 3 because there's some signature lines, but essentially it's a 2-page contract with big font. Anybody can understand this, okay? But it's going to create a PDF. It's going to attach it to an email, and it's going to send it to the seller from your email. And then last but not least, it's going to CC you. So assuming that you have the right email address of the seller and you filled the form out properly, and again, this should take you less than 3 minutes. Today I'm explaining it, so it's going to take me a little bit more time. But this offer is going to send to the seller and it's going to CC you. So if you get the email, the CC'd part of it, they got the email. Now here's the coolest part, guys. Literally my favorite part of this, right? If they get this email, and well, they will, once they get it, if they decide that they want to respond to that email, they want to, hit the reply button and they want to say, hey, this is great. Thanks for sending. We're going to get this signed and sent back to you right away. Or they may respond and say, hey, thanks for the offer. It's too low. Regardless of what they say, if they click that reply button, that response is going to you, not to me. It wouldn't really help you very much if I got all those emails. Those emails go to you. They get responded back, or the reply goes to you because the email is sent from you. Now, another really cool thing about this is, let's say that they don't respond, right? And you don't hear from them. What you can do is, because you got the email too, is you can go in a few days later or even a few weeks later, and you can actually reply to that email, reply to all, and actually follow up with them. So it'll be in the same thread. Very, very, very powerful. Again, we've used this to buy over 400 houses. And I would say, 80-90% of the time, I'm sending these from my cell phone, cashoffercontract.com. All right, so let's jump back over. I'm going to go to Gmail here, and I want to pull up the email that was sent. And I want to kind of just show you guys what exactly happened here. let's go over to this particular email. This is the one that we want. And we've got to verify that it's me. So again, you're going to go to your own email, guys. Now, once you go to your email, again, you should be CC'd on these emails. So let's give it just another second here to load. All right, here it is. I got a couple emails since then already. I'm getting blown up this morning. So here is the purchase agreement, guys. This is the email, all right, that was generated. And here is the PDF that was actually attached to this email. So I want to kind of break this down just really quick to describe and show you guys, the power that is coming with this. So our purchase agreement dash, this is the property address. So whatever property address you had filled in here over on cash offer contract, let's refresh this field here so you can see these fields one more time. So whatever you put in to the seller's property address, this field here is actually going to get mail merged into the subject. So it says purchase agreement 12345 Main Street, property address. Whatever you put in that field, it's going to mail merge it right in there. Next, you're going to see it says Dear Mike Slane, because that's who I had selected over here, as the seller, right? So if that was, Holding Entity LLC or Rental Property LLC or whatever their LLC is, that's going to go there as well. It's going to mail merge that in. And it's basically going to say, please see the attached offer from House Sold Easy LLC to purchase your property. Guys, your entity is going to go right there, not mine, yours. The reason it says House Sold Easy LLC is because that's my entity, and that's what I put in over here on these fields in terms of my entity. Now, if you don't have an entity, then just put your name right there. Do not overthink this. Next, it says, we buy tons of houses each month. We typically pay all cash, close fast, and we will buy the property as is. Please let us know if you have any questions about our offer. We look forward to hearing back from you soon. Thank you. And then you'll notice that we've basically added in like a little signature to this email. That's going to be your entity. That's going to be your phone. That's going to be your email, guys. Now, again, if they wanted to go and they wanted to respond to this email, it's going to come back, to the person that sent. So this particular scenario, it says from David Dodge, right? Or David at House Sold Easy, and it was sent to Mike. So if they respond to this email, okay, then it's going to go to you. Now, here's the coolest part. It generated this offer and it attached it to this email, and then it sent it to the seller on your behalf from your email address, all right? So not only is it creating this offer, but it's sending it on your behalf. Now, let's take a look a little bit more closely at this agreement. Again, I have used this agreement to purchase over 400 properties. And you'll notice that I put a line in on the address of the seller for the mailing address because I didn't know it, right? You are also welcome to copy and paste the property address. I think we talked about that here a second ago, where it says the seller's property address and the seller's mailing address. If it's not the same address, put in a line, put in a period, or sometimes we'll just literally copy and paste it. It's really not that big of a deal. But again, this is what is generating. So it's gonna basically mail merge in the date of the agreement. It's gonna mail merge in the seller's name, whose mailing address is blank right here. And House Sold Easy LLC is the buyer, guys. This is my entity. I put that in on the field. So you are gonna put in your entity, and it's gonna put that right there, all right? And then it's gonna say and or assigns our nominees, whose address is 1750 South Brentwood Boulevard, Suite 600, St. Louis, Mo 63144. That's going to be your address. These fields get mail merged in from cashoffercontract.com. All right. Next is the property. All right. So what property are you trying to purchase? It's going to mail merge that in right there. And that's also going to be mail merged into the email at the very top of the email in the subject line. So this is actually doing like 15 different things simultaneously, all to help you send more offers quickly. I want to get these offers out. We're sending 5, sometimes 10 offers a day. And again, we can do it from our phone or from our computer in under 3 minutes. All right. Next, you're going to just see some information about, the seller is not being represented by anybody, and hopefully the property is in lawful condition. Next, we were going to have the following items are excluded, right? So in this case, we just put a period. But let's say that we did type in washer and dryer or chandelier or refrigerator. That's all going to go right there, okay? The buyer is agreeing to purchase the property to rent, lease, assign, or sell for a profit. Transparency is the way to go. It's going to eliminate, any misunderstandings or any fear of you having to come back at a later time and maybe say this isn't going to work or I need a better price. In the agreement, it literally states that I am going to be purchasing this property to rent, to lease, to assign, or sell for a profit. Guys, this is very, very important. Transparency is the best way to go about this, right? Also, the seller should not expect any representations from the buyer or the buyer's representatives. Basically, it just means seek your own legal counsel if you don't understand anything in this agreement. Moving on, purchase price. We had put in $125,000. Again, no periods, no commas over here because it's going to merge that in. So you can see here it looks really pretty with the $125,000. It's got the cents, it's got the dollar sign. Don't worry about putting that in. It does it for you. Next would be your buyer's due consideration or your earnest money deposit. In this scenario, I just used $100. Oftentimes, we will just use $10, all right? Next is the acceptance. This offer shall expire if not executed by and delivered to all parties in writing on or before 11:59 p.m. on the date that you selected as your acceptance date, okay? You don't want these contracts to be hanging out there forever. You want them to basically say, hey, we're going to give you 2, 3, 5 days to sign. And at that point, if you don't, this offer is going to, it's going to be void at that point, right? You don't want these hanging out there forever. Next is the due consideration earnest money deposit. So again, it mail merged it there. It's going to mail merge it again here. The amount of $100 and whatever you had put in over here, it's going to be merged in. As buyer's due consideration earnest money deposit shall be made due and payable as earnest money upon buyer's partner's written approval. Let me say that one more time. Shall be made due and payable as earnest money upon buyer's partner's written approval. Why does this matter? Well, basically, we are writing into the contract that we don't even need to go deposit our earnest money until we have found that cash buyer or we know 100%, that we're going to be buying this property. So when you send these offers, and let's say the seller, doesn't like the $10 or the $100 in earnest money and they want more, well, that's fine. If they say I need $500 or $1,000, put it on there. You don't even owe that money until you have found a partner and they have basically given you written approval. We have modified this contract tons of times to basically make it the perfect offer. Literally, it's the perfect offer. It reduces 100% of your risk, and it allows you control to where you can get out there, buy some properties, and do some wholesaling. That's really what we like to do, is some wholesaling here, right? Next is, the earnest money. The agent of buyer's choice shall hold the earnest money. Here's another cool statement that's in here. If the buyer default should occur on any provision of this agreement, the seller shall retain all monies paid. The seller shall retain all monies paid to the seller by the buyer as full and complete liquid damages. Agreed upon settlement in full and seller's only recourse for the buyer default. Well, what does that even mean? Well, that basically means that if you don't close and you have opened your escrow, your earnest money deposit has been placed, then they can basically keep that. And that's it. There's no other damages. That's it. They are agreeing and you are agreeing that is the full recourse of you not closing. So again, if you never even open earnest money to begin with, then don't even worry about it, right? But if you did and you're not able to close, this basically states right there in that sentence that the full recourse, right? Seller and buyer seller shall retain all monies paid to the seller by the buyer as full and complete liquid damages, agreed upon settlement in full, and seller's only recourse for buyer default. Inspection, you'll notice that I put in 15 business. Again, days was already in there. So don't worry about clicking days, but do not forget to add business. All right, we're going to speed up a little bit here. I'm going to keep this video a little short. Valuation. This agreement is subject to the valuation of the buyer. CYA clause, guys. You are the buyer. You determine value. That is an opinion. You can get out for any reason at any time if you no longer see value there. Closing costs shall be paid by blank. All right, paid by the buyer. That's what I wrote in there, by the buyer. Closing will be held on or before the date you select, guys. Simple. Keep it simple. Access. Buyer shall be entitled access, including a key if vacant, to inspect and show investment partners, potential and or assignees and nominees, inspectors and or contractors prior to closing. The buyer is also entitled to do a walkthrough on the day of closing. This right here is a bunch of CYA clauses. If you want to look at it in detail, you are basically saying I need a key. I need to be able to inspect and show my partners, my potential and or assignees or nominees, my inspectors, my contractors prior to closing. And then last but not least, I got to do a final walkthrough on the day of closing. So if I don't ever go do my final walkthrough, well, this contract is void. All right. Again, this is giving you all the outs. This is about control. The whole purpose of this is to give you control of the deal with little to none of your own money and to reduce your risk to literally zero. All right. Next, we're going to have a little thing in here about legal, which basically states if you don't understand anything in this contract, please seek the legal advice of an attorney, prior to signing below. And in the event of litigation between the parties, the seller shall be responsible for all legal fees, including the cost of litigation and reasonable attorney's fees that the buyer may occur. This provision shall survive closing and delivery of seller's deed to the buyer. So basically, in the event that there is some sort of issue that, they want to sue you, which I've never been sued because this contract is rock solid, but in the event that they did and they signed this agreement, they are willing to pay for all the legal costs on their end and your end. And if you got to go to court or any of that, you can bill them back for this. All right. So really what it's going to do is it's going to basically want to prevent them from doing any of that because they're going to have to pay for it. And the odds of them winning are very low because this contract is heavily sided to protect you as the buyer. All right. We're almost done. Again, this video is going to be about 35 minutes, but you can do this from your phone or from your computer in less than 3 minutes. I'm spending a little bit of extra time today explaining all of the details and how it works. Last thing here would be your disclosure information. This is basically just a lead-based paint or hazardous issues. We want to protect you from that. Next would be your additional terms and conditions. And I just put in subject to partner's approval, guys. That's another CYA. It's really already in this contract like 2 or 3 times, but we just stick it in there just so it's very, very, very clear. Next, you're going to see it's going to basically sign this contract with signature font, not a real signature, but it looks like one. It's going to say print. It's going to pull in your name. And again, all this information came from this form, guys. It's very, very, very simple. It mail merges it together. All right. And then it's going to have the date. And then last but not least, it's going to give an area for the seller to sign, print, and date. So you'll notice this is a 3-page contract, but this 3rd page is really just an area for them to sign. So really, this is only a 2-page agreement. And I should go back and move this up. I'll probably do that at some point. But this is it. It's a 2-page agreement that gets sent. It's generated and it's dropped into an email with this right here, mail merged in with all your information sent to the seller from you, and it CCs you. So if you don't get the CC email, you didn't fill the form out right. So go back and check everything and do it again. If you get the email and the email for the seller that you entered is correct, they got the email. All right. Again, if they respond to that email, it goes to you. And if you don't hear from them and you can't reach them on the phone anymore, you can always go reply to all in that email and follow up with them that way as well. So guys, use this tool, cashoffercontract.com. You can generate a cash offer, send it in an email to your seller from your email address. There is literally no reason that you can't do this in under 3 minutes. Cashoffercontract.com. Check it out.